Watching my fiancé avenge his past life's grievances and marry the one who left him unsettled, I feigned deafness and stupidity, distancing myself from this place of strife. I carried a bowl of hot soup toward the minister's study, my footsteps identical to those of my past life. Yet the chill within my heart was utterly different. True to form, Sieshi suddenly stuck out his foot as I passed. This time, I made no attempt to dodge. The scalding soup splashed down with a loud splash, drenching Chibayuan completely. The scroll of calligraphy he held in his hands, freshly inscribed, was instantly ruined beyond recognition. Chibayuan reached out to help me up, a hint of relief flickering across his brow, as if secretly glad I hadn't returned. Bearing the memories of my past life, I kept my eyes lowered, my fingertips clenching the hem of my sleeve, equally relieved. He hadn't yet noticed that I, like him, had lived this life twice. Warm sunlight bathed Sieshi. Kai Buen's gaze upon her burned hotter than the rays themselves. The intense cherishing of something lost and regained. I knew all too well he, like me, carried memories of the past life, yet still chose to pursue his unfulfilled longing. In our past life, to secure Sieshi the position of primary wife, he insisted I remain a secondary consort. Later, framed and thrown from his horse, he was left crippled. Sieshi promptly married the sixth prince, leaving me alone to tend his broken legs, searching the realm for renowned physicians. Low snickers rippled through the crowd. Sieshi's expression darkened as she feigned hurt. Miss Song, Brother Buen is most particular about cleanliness. How careless of you. Kai Buen immediately ordered the palace attendants to find Miss Ye a clean set of clothes at once. Though drenched in soup himself, he paid her no mind. Watching this familiar scene, the grievances of my past life surged back. Yet, I felt no desire to appease anyone anymore. The incident spread throughout the hall within half a day. The emperor summoned me to the palace and urgently asked upon meeting me, "Was Bayuan scolded?" Kneeling on the cold stone floor, I suddenly spoke up. It wasn't my carelessness. Sieshi deliberately tripped me. Enough. Kai Bayuan cut me off sharply, his tone icy and harsh. Why would Sieshi harm you for no reason? Clearly, you were the one who stumbled. Tears welled up uncontrollably. I lifted my head, refusing to show weakness. Since the crown prince chooses to shield her, I have nothing more to say. I rose to take my leave. I have matters to attend to at the mansion today. I shall pay my respects another time. As I stepped out of the palace attendants sent by Kai Buen caught up, offering to escort me back. I clenched the hem of my sleeve, the suffocating sensation of being nailed into a coffin in my past life surging back. I can walk on my own. His apology is something I cannot accept. At the palace gates, father and mother had been waiting. Mother pulled me close. That imperial palace is a place that devours people whole. You must never go back. Father ruffled my hair. I'll decline the position as tutor in the imperial study tomorrow. Once this busy period passes, I'll resign my post and take you to Jiangnan to see the peach blossoms. I clung to father's arm, feigning childishness. Yet my eyes held unwavering clarity. This lifetime I would feign deafness and foolishness, keeping myself far from this place of strife. I feigned illness to avoid the imperial study, hiding within the manor day after day, longing only for father's swift resignation. On this rare day accompanying Sichuan to the cosmetics shop, my fingertips had barely touched a pearl-studded hairpin when Sichuan whispered a warning. "Miss, a young gentleman has been staring at you." Turning around, I saw Kai Buen. I gave a slight nod in greeting, "Your Highness." After exchanging greetings, I turned back, unwilling to say more. Yet, he walked straight toward me, his tone laced with sarcasm. I heard, "Miss Song was ill yesterday. Now you seem quite lively." "It wasn't a serious illness, merely a headache whenever I touch books," I replied indifferently, still playing with the pearl hairpin. His smile grew colder. "So reading gives you headaches, but buying jewelry doesn't." His voice dropped dangerously low. "Too bad pearls don't suit you. Best not wear them anymore." Memories from my past life exploded in my mind. At the palace banquet after our wedding, both Sieshi and I wore pearl headpieces. Kai Buen had coldly dismissed me with the same words, Pearls don't suit you, turning me into a laughingstock. But I had always loved pearls. Why should she be allowed to like them and I not? I never realized, Your Highness, that you even dictate what jewelry a woman may wear. I handed the pearl hairpin to Sichuan. Just this one. Wrap it up. Insisting on wearing something that doesn't suit you only invites ridicule. The underlying meaning in his tone was crystal clear to me. I lifted my eyes to meet his gaze. I've loved pearls since childhood. I chose this simply to bring myself joy. If Your Highness finds it offensive, I'll simply give you a wide berth whenever we cross paths. With that, I clutched Sichuan's hand and turned toward the carriage without a second glance. Inside, Sichuan protested on my behalf. Miss, you look absolutely stunning in those pearls. Her words made me chuckle, and I tapped her knuckles lightly. I should have ignored his opinion long ago. Back at the manor, Father's smile faded. Shia man, our travels must be postponed. His Majesty is preparing to march against Kai. My heart sank. In my past life, Father had been gravely wounded in that very campaign. Only through his military merits had His Majesty decreed my betrothal to Kai Biyuan. The Emperor has ordered me to bring you to the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet, Father added. I hastily refused. It's best to avoid further trouble and displease the Emperor. I knew all too well this banquet was a trap. She would seize the opportunity to frame me, and Kai Biyuan would never believe me. I ultimately did not attend the Mid-Autumn Palace banquet. While recuperating at home, Mother suddenly mentioned, as we were leaving the palace, the Crown Prince specifically inquired why you were absent. I nearly choked on my medicine, feeling Kai Biyuan's specter haunting me relentlessly. At the banquet, Kai Biyuan shifted restlessly, his gaze repeatedly darting towards Sayan's empty seat. When she performed her dance, adorned with colorful butterflies fluttering around her shoulders, she drew praise from the entire hall. Yet he paid her no mind whatsoever. Memories from my past life surged uncontrollably. It was at this very banquet that she was stung by poisonous bees. Everyone assumed Song Yun Man was responsible simply because she wore the same honey fragrance. Yet, no one knew she had deliberately rubbed against her. At the time, Sayan Man produced a bottle of locust blossom honey to clear her name. The Emperor and Empress believed her, but he alone refused to accept it, insisting it was a contingency plan she prepared long ago. He had always believed Sayan Man did all this for power and influence, yet he forgot that bottle of locust blossom honey was prepared especially for him. Days before the banquet, his eyes were bloodshot and his voice strained. Knowing locust blossom honey soothed the spirit and moistened the lungs, she had carefully packed it in a porcelain jar and carried it with her. Late into the night, Kai Biyuan tossed and turned, unable to sleep. In his daze, he dreamt of his past life. Betrayed and crippled, he lay bedridden, listless and despondent. Man tended to him daily, bringing medicine and bathing him, never missing a single day. The medicinal broth was bitter, and he would throw tantrums, refusing to drink it. She would then crouch by his bedside, coaxing him with soft words, her eyes filled with heartache. Back then, he hated her. Hated that she wouldn't spare him, even when his claim to the throne was hopeless. Yet he never refused the locust blossom honey water she brought him daily. Every autumn, when his throat ached, that sweet nectar always brought him relief. The dream ended abruptly, and Kai Biyuan jolted awake. Dawn was breaking outside the window. He finally remembered that the locust honey Yin Man had brought to the palace banquet in his previous life was meant for him. His heart felt as if it had been wrenched by something. He suddenly understood that what he owed her was far greater than he had ever imagined. Meanwhile, at home, I had long since tossed that bottle of painstakingly simmered locust honey into a dry well. In this life, that sentiment would never again be wasted on him. Father led troops to campaign against Kai. I insisted on accompanying him. Mother couldn't dissuade me, so she allowed me to stay within the border city, forbidding me from approaching the military camp. I knew that in my past life, Father would be assassinated by chief spies, fighting wounded until his health was ruined. This lifetime, I would protect him. Life in the border town demanded constant vigilance. I spent my days wandering the streets, searching for signs of spies, when unexpectedly, I stumbled upon Kai Biyuan. He was deliberately dressed up, but after chasing him for so many years, I recognized him instantly from his silhouette alone. I followed him all the way to the Spring Radiance bookshop. Though tucked away in a remote corner, it was surprisingly bustling. The shopkeeper moved with such lightness, as if he knew some kind of lightness skill. Clearly, he was no ordinary man. Kai Bayuan was gone for ages, emerging empty-handed. After finishing a bowl of noodles at a street stall, I feigned impatience as I entered the bookshop, looking for some trendy storybooks. You wouldn't have them in this backwater, would you? I deliberately let my Beijing accent slip, adopting a spoiled, petulant tone, all because father arranged this rotten marriage. I'm nearly suffocating here before I've even crossed the threshold. The proprietor visibly relaxed, gesturing toward a bookshelf in the corner. I casually flipped through 2 volumes, feigned dissatisfaction, and left. Along the way, I bought several items to throw off suspicion, only daring to return to my lodgings after confirming no one was following. For the next few days, I kept watch near the Spring Radiance Pavilion. Kai Bayuan appeared frequently, but never made a move. Finally, with only 7 days left until the anniversary of my father's assassination in his previous life, the shopkeeper left alone at dusk. Kai Bayuan quietly followed. Sichuan, hurry to the barracks and inform father and mother. I'll pursue him first. I gripped the dagger at my waist tightly. This matter was of utmost importance. Kai Bayuan couldn't be harmed, lest it throw the army into chaos and implicate father. Shortly after exiting the city, the clang of clashing blades reached my ears. I quickened my pace and saw from afar that Kai Bayuan was surrounded by a group of black-clad figures. Outnumbered and with his personal guards nowhere in sight, he was in grave danger. In that critical moment, I drew my bow and fired arrow after arrow, each striking its mark, clearing a path for his escape. After firing the final arrow, I leapt from the tree, the setting sun's glow reflecting on my face. Kai Bayuan watched me, his expression complex and hard to read. Reinforcements arrived swiftly, capturing several spies. He broke free from his deputy and approached me, only then noticing the bloody marks on my hands from the bowstring. "Thank you for today," he said, his tone carrying an unusual gentleness. "Protecting your highness is my father's duty," I replied coolly. "I only hope you won't act on your own next time, lest you alert the enemy." Later, he sent a treasure trove of pearls filling an entire storeroom. I had my servants accept them with thanks, yet never once looked at them. This gesture of goodwill came too late and felt too cheap. The spy was captured, Chunui Pavilion sealed, father remained unharmed, and I was ordered back to the capital to recuperate. Kai Bayuan was honored as a prince for his military achievements, his glory unmatched. His Majesty repeatedly summoned me to the palace, and unable to refuse, I accepted the invitation to the autumn hunt. At the hunting grounds, father asked what I desired. I smiled and said, "Mother feels the cold. Father, hunt a fox to make her a shawl." My mind was far from the hunt, focused only on avoiding Kai Bayuan. As I prepared to mount my horse, a familiar voice called from behind, "Miss Song." Turning, I saw Kai Bayuan standing with Ci, his expression distant. Father decisively resigned his post before the emperor, intending to return to our ancestral home first and take mother on a journey the following spring. The emperor, pleased to regain his military authority, no longer insisted I enter the palace. The position of Chiburan's consort ultimately fell to Ci. On the day the imperial decree of betrothal arrived, heavy rain poured down upon the capital. Our family hurriedly packed our belongings, desperate to flee this place of turmoil. Yet no matter how swiftly we departed, we could not evade Kai Bayuan. He stood before our carriage, soaked to the bone, rainwater streaming down his hair, his eyes flushed crimson. "What are you doing, Your Highness? You should be in the palace today to express your gratitude." I pulled back the curtain, my tone calm and unruffled. "You know perfectly well why," he said with a bitter smile, unwilling to come down. "Aren't you afraid they'll discover my past life with you?" "Enough?" I cut him off, gesturing for Sichuan to hand me an umbrella before pulling him aside. "Speak plainly, Your Highness. I must continue my journey." The autumn rain carried a chill that made the corners of his eyes redden. "Where are you going? Not coming back? Leaving the capital?" Never returning. I nodded, my words clear and firm. He gripped my shoulders, the chill from his palms seeping through the rain-soaked fabric. Why? In this new life, you're so cowardly. What did you say about me in the past? I didn't hear a single word he said after that, just accusations of weakness and lack of ambition. I lifted my head, meeting his stunned gaze, and whispered, after the prince left in the past life, the empress feared you'd be lonely down below. On the day of your burial, I was sealed inside the coffin with you. The pain of being nailed alive into that coffin still lingered in my fingertips. That endless darkness drained every last shred of my will. Tell me, I asked, who should I seek vengeance from? He released his grip and stumbled back, his face frozen in disbelief. Impossible. I clearly instructed Mother to grant you freedom. Freedom. I laughed aloud. How much true freedom can a widow truly have? In my past life, I urged you to find strength. Yet, you still chose death. Your Highness should know how difficult it is to persuade someone to turn back. Yun Man. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Just then, Kai Chong's voice reached us. Your Imperial Highness, Father is summoning you to the palace. If he learns you're here troubling Miss Song, he'll be displeased. Kai Bayuan gazed at me deeply, leaving behind a reluctant wait for me before departing. Kai set a step before me and murmured softly, I heard you're leaving the capital today. I came to see you off. The capital is unworthy of you, he said with a faint smile, a trace of bitterness in his eyes. You will find what you seek. I returned his smile. I will remember your kindness, Your Highness, and I believe you will find what you seek, too. The carriage moved slowly as the city's outline faded into the distance. I knew I had finally escaped that prison that had crushed my spirit. After leaving the capital, I traveled far and wide with my parents, living a life of carefree contentment. We beheld the blazing peach blossoms of Jiangnan and traversed the sandstorm-swept plains of the northern frontier. Those palace intrigues, entangled loves and hates, seemed like a distant dream from a past life. Occasionally, news from the capital would reach us through passing merchants. First, the empress was deposed. Rumor had it the emperor discovered her role in separating me from Xie Shi's mother years ago, and his wrath was thunderous. Then came Xie Shi's disgrace. She knew of the second prince's foul play during the autumn hunt but failed to report it. When Kai Bayuan found out, her favor vanished completely. Later still, the emperor passed away and the sixth prince, Kai Chania, ascended the throne as the new emperor. As for Kai Bayuan, having offended the new emperor, he was confined to his residence and soon died in despair. Everything unfolded as expected. I felt little surprise, save for a flicker of complexity in my heart upon hearing of Kai Chania's ascension. My parents, however, were filled with relief. Thank goodness we left early. Otherwise, we might have been dragged into it. As the days passed, my parents began worrying about my future. Xie Man, you should start thinking about yourself. Your parents can't take care of you forever, Mother said earnestly as she sat by the window, mending clothes. Father chimed in, if you delay any longer, you'll become an old man no one wants. I still want to spend more time with you both, I said, smiling as I playfully tugged at Mother's sleeve. Yet my heart was far from calm. The image of Kai Chania saving me, his words, the capital is no place for you. It doesn't deserve you, still surfaced in my mind from time to time. That day, we were dining at an inn. Amidst our laughter, we overheard guests at the next table murmuring, the sage emperor passed away after only 2 years on the throne. With no heir, his younger brother has gained an advantage. I heard the sage was still in his prime. Could it be he overworked himself? My heart tightened at the words. Kai Chania had saved my life. His untimely demise left me with a sense of loss. Lost in these thoughts, a familiar voice spoke up. Excuse me, everyone. The restaurant is full. Would you mind sharing a table? Turning, I met a pair of smiling eyes. It was Kai Changa. Dressed in plain blue robes, he had shed the emperor's majesty for an air of easygoing freedom, a stark contrast to the aloof presence I remembered from my past life. Your Highness, how did you come to travel here, too? I stammered momentarily, flustered. He laughed lightly. Being a sage is no easy task. A carefree knight-errant suits me better. Didn't you say that day I'd also get my wish? This is my wish. He looked at me, his gaze sincere, without a trace of falsehood. I froze, momentarily unsure how to respond. Kai Chong-Wei sat down at our table. My parents treated him with great warmth. After all, he had saved my life. His conversation was witty and engaging as he spoke knowledgeably about the customs and traditions of various lands, completely shedding his former aloofness. Gradually relaxing, I couldn't help but ask, "Why did you relinquish the throne?" "It's something countless people dream of." He lifted his gaze to meet mine, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "The throne may be desirable, but it is not what I truly desire. From the very beginning, there has only ever been one thing I've sought." His words were too direct, and my cheeks flushed. I quickly lowered my head to sip my tea, trying to hide my embarrassment. My parents exchanged a knowing smile and tactfully made excuses to leave, leaving us alone. "Are you curious why I saved you? Why I gave up the throne to find you?" he asked softly. I nodded, my mind truly filled with questions. "I've known you for a very long time," he began slowly, his gaze drifting into the distance as if lost in memory. "When I was young, my birth mother was a palace maid. The emperor paid her little mind, and everyone bullied me. It was you who stood in front of me, forbidding them to harm me. It was you who secretly gave me the pastries the emperor had bestowed upon you." I had no memory of these events. They must have been too long ago. Later in the imperial study, when Sashi tripped you, I tried to stop him only to realize you'd done it on purpose. He smiled. "That's when I knew the rumors about you liking Kai Buan were false. I often visited the vicinity of the Song residence to watch you, yet dared not approach. I knew you wished to remain untouched by the palace's affairs. Saving you during the autumn hunt was instinct. I feared harm might come to you." His voice was low and gentle. "You said I would have my wish granted. My wish is to travel the world with you, never again concerning ourselves with the scheming and deceit." My heart pounded wildly. Gazing into his sincere eyes, I recalled how in my past life he married Sia she yet always held kindness for me. I remembered how he willingly gave up the throne to protect me. My eyes suddenly grew moist, but I wanted to say I wasn't worthy, that the shadows of my past life still haunted me. He took my hand, his palm warm against mine. "I know you've been hurt. I know you fear the strife, but I promise you this for the rest of our days. I will only protect you. I will never let you suffer another moment of injustice. If you love pearls, I will gather every pearl in the world for you. If you love to travel, I will accompany you to the ends of the earth." His words flowed like a warm current, thawing the ice that had long encased my heart. I looked at him and suddenly smiled. "All right, I accept." My parents watched us from afar, their faces radiant with joy. Sunlight streamed through the lattice windows, bathing our clasped hands in a warm, dazzling glow. I knew in this life I had finally met someone truly worthy of my devotion. My wish had finally come true. Extra Kai Chang's perspective. I had hidden Essien Man deep within my heart for many years, ever since I was very young. Back then, my birth mother was a palace maid of humble origins. The emperor paid her little heed, and within the palace, princes, princesses, eunuchs, and maids alike could bully me at will. I was pushed into the mud, covered in filth, while they surrounded me, mocking and pelting me with stones. Just as I thought I would be beaten to death, a small figure rushed forward, stood before me, hands on hips, shouting, "You're not allowed to bully him." That was my first encounter with Song Yun Man, the cherished daughter of General Song. Dressed in a beautiful brocade skirt, she shone like a little sun. After chasing the bullies away, she pulled a delicately wrapped pastry from her bosom and pressed it into my hand. "Here, eat this. If they bully you again, just tell me." The pastry was sweet, sweet enough to warm my heart. But she stopped coming to the palace for a long time afterward. I could only gaze from afar toward the Song residence, missing that little girl who had given me warmth. I saw her again in the imperial study. She was carrying soup to the eldest imperial brother when she tripped her. I started to intervene, but she deliberately stumbled, spilling the hot soup all over him. In that moment, I felt a surge of joy, knowing the rumors of her affection for the eldest brother were false. I began frequenting the vicinity of the Song residence, secretly watching her. I watched her practice swordsmanship in the courtyard, saw her chatting and laughing with her maidservants, and observed her engrossed in her books. I dared not approach. I knew she detested the palace's intrigues while I was bound by circumstances. When she accompanied Minister Song on a border campaign, my unease drove me to follow secretly, witnessing her tailing the eldest brother and then shooting an arrow to save him. I admired her courage yet ached at her stubborn defiance. I knew she sought to protect General Song and distance herself from the eldest brother. All I could do was watch over her silently from the shadows. During the autumn hunt, I knew the second prince would strike and position myself nearby in advance. When wolves lunged at her, I charged without hesitation, shielding her in my embrace. Her warm fingertips brushed my wound, and my heart raced, afraid the gruesome sight might frighten her, yet yearning for more moments like this. When she sought to leave the capital and my eldest brother blocked her path, I arrived just in time to rescue her. Gathering my courage, I told her, "The capital is unworthy of you." I wanted her to know someone understood her pain. Someone wished her well. My eldest brother never grasped, even in death, that San Yin man never craved power or prestige, only a heartfelt connection. He was blinded by his own unresolved grievances, unable to see the sacrifices of those around him. I would never repeat his mistakes. After the sage emperor's passing, I ascended the throne without incident. Yet, seated upon that supreme dragon throne, I felt no joy. My mind was filled only with the image of Song Yang's departing figure. I knew the imperial throne could not win her back. Only by severing all ties could I pursue her. The first act after my ascension was to punish all who had harmed her. The empress, guilty of countless evils, was stripped of her title and banished to the cold palace, paying for her past life's act of burying Song Yun men alive. The second prince, corrupt and treacherous, was demoted to commoner status, barred from ever returning to the capital. Xie Shi, who knew the truth yet concealed it, possessed a heart of malice. I bestowed upon her a slow-acting poison, condemning her to a life worse than death, a fitting retribution for her past life's betrayal of Song Yun man. As for Kai Ba Yuan, he died without ever understanding his mistake. He believed that by treating Song Yun man better in this new life, he could win her back. Little did he know that some wounds, once inflicted, can never be mended. I did not kill him. I merely confined him, condemning him to spend his remaining days in endless remorse. For him, this was perhaps the cruelest punishment. Having settled all matters, I issued an edict to pass the throne to my young brother. I shed the imperial robe, donned plain blue robes, and rode south alone, pursuing my heart's desire. Along the way, I sought news of Song Yun man from the capital to the south, from the northern frontier to Lingnan. I had imagined countless scenarios of our reunion, yet never expected to stumble upon her in a humble tavern. When she saw me, her eyes brimmed with astonishment and a fleeting flicker of panic, stirring a surge of joy within me. I confessed my long-held feelings, explained why I had relinquished the throne, and told her I only wished to travel the world with her. The moment she nodded her consent, the entire world seemed to brighten. All those years of waiting, endurance, and sacrifice finally found meaning. Hand in hand, we strolled through the misty alleys of Jiangnan, gazed upon the star-filled skies of the northern frontier, and sampled local delicacies across the land. She loved pearls, so I scoured the world to collect every kind of pearl jewelry for her. She cherished tranquility, so I accompanied her to secluded mountain retreats where we listened to birdsong and watched flowers bloom. In the still of night, she would sometimes speak of the pain from her past life. I would hold her close, whispering comfort, telling her I would always be there. I knew healing the scars in her heart would take time, but I possessed endless patience. In our past life, I failed to protect her completely, forced to watch her suffer and grieve for Kai Ba Yuan. This lifetime, I will never let her endure even a shred of injustice. To spend my life by her side, to see all the world's wonders together, this is the greatest fulfillment of my existence.